Hey guys, I hope all of you have had a great Samhain. My apologies if you hear my dogs barking, just ignore them. Yeah, I figured since we celebrate Samhain today and some people celebrate it, well, yesterday and today. I was like, oh, it'd be fun to hop on here and see how all of you guys are doing and see how Samhain is treating all of you. So just wanted to check in and see what was going on. So I'm going to get my chat pulled up so I can see what's going on. Okay. So I figured we would just talk a little bit about Samhain and like what it means to us and what we did for Samhain. So first of all, I'm wearing this crazy hat. The Halloween store by me on Halloween day and that following week, everything is super, super, super discounted. So this hat was like only like $8 originally, but I got it like half off. And this is like the coolest witch's hat. Like, look at that. I don't know. I just think it's super, super cool. And like all the like little embellishments with like the skull and like the little, I think these are supposed to be like raven feathers. I'm not really sure. And then like the black roses. I feel like that's so fun. So I absolutely had to have it. Plus it has this like super crazy, like ridiculous lace trimming on the sides of the hat, which actually kind of reminded me of like a veil, which I thought was so appropriate for Samhain because it's like you can take the veil up or you can wear the veil down. So I just thought that was super fun. And we had this little circle that I'm a part of. We had a little Samhain ritual and we kind of all dressed up and stuff. And it was really fun. And I actually wore this hat during ritual. And the hat is like, I just love it. It's so crazy, but it's super not practical. So before we started ritual, I had to kind of like put the veil up like this so that way I could kind of see clearly. And I was really worried about the little veil part like catching on fire. So I'm glad that that didn't happen. No witches were burned during this Samhain. So yeah, so we had a really nice kind of like ceremonial ritual where we first started off by like smudging the space that we were getting ready to create and smudging ourselves. And then I'm drinking warm apple cider, by the way, in this cup that I got 2 years ago, also discounted from the Halloween store. It's this like Ouija board cup. I think it's super fun. So yeah, so we started off by smudging the space down that we were going to be using and smudging each other. And then we blessed the area with like a little blessing and consecrated it. And then we went ahead and like cast our circle. And, I'm all for ceremonial ritual and I'm all for ceremonial practices. I just don't always have, I just don't always feel in a ceremonial kind of mood. So a lot of the stuff that I do is more folkish based, I would say, and less formal. But like for Samhain, it was really, really nice to have something a little bit more formal. And I really enjoyed it. And so we, called the quarters and cast the circle. And then we had different candles. We had a black and a white and a gray candle that were corresponding to what was going on seasonally. Like the gray represented the veil and the white the day and the black the night. And we had a god and goddess candle that we lit and said a few words about and did some invocations on. And we also had like pointing candles that kind of talked about different things. Like one talked about the fact that it's the witch's new year and it's a celebration. One talked about honoring our ancestors and wishing them the best and arriving and departing through the veil. So yeah, it was good. And yeah, pretty much after that, we like just kind of sat in the space that we created. We didn't do any spell work or anything as a group. I did my own share solitary, because I still consider myself a solitary practitioner, even though I will meet up with the circle and we will kind of honor the Sabbat. I don't want to say casually because it was like a ceremonial thing, but we don't really do like spell work together. It's almost more like a yaya type situation where it's just like a group of people who get together and just celebrate and honor the Sabbat together. So after that, we talked about our resolutions and we broke bread with each other. We had soul cakes, which was my first time actually making soul cakes. I'm a good cook, but I'm not so baking savvy. And so we broke those and we talked about, you know, our loved ones and stories and keeping their memories alive. And it was really, really nice. And we had like a little seance portion afterwards, which was really wild and fun. And a lot of the questions that we were asking, we got a lot of no's too. It was like, no, no, no. And so that's good and bad. But I don't know. I also kind of think that like, you know, during this seance and with this communication, like some of the things that we got no's to, we were like, oh, darn. But I don't really believe in like predetermination personally. I think that we can predict things in the future, but I don't think the future is really like set in stone. Because I'm a big believer in like the butterfly effect, and I'm a big believer that one small thing can change everything. So instead, I view it more as like a forecast from right now. So right now, this is what it looks like. And if you do or don't like that, you can totally change it. And especially as a witch, I know that like we are capable of manifesting our own realities. And so if you don't like something, then let's do some work and let's change it, right? So that was fun. And it was just nice being able to get together with a group of people and celebrate with others. Because even though I am a solitary practitioner, it's nice having kind of that sense of community. And I feel like probably a lot of you, I would say, probably feel the same way because we have this community here on YouTube, which is really nice because we can kind of reach out and share with like minds and share ideas. And I just, as a Libra, as an air sign, I'm just all about that. And I just love, 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 love that. Hey, Witchy Jim. I'm reading the chat now, so. You're going to a moon ritual Saturday with a new coven that you just joined. That's exciting. I want to hear about that. That's exciting. And the apple cider is so good. So good. It's like nice and warm, and I added like an extra cinnamon stick to it, and I kind of put some whipped cream on there, and it's delicious. It's delicious. Yes, delicious. So as far as my resolutions go, because I like to make like more of my mundane resolutions around New Year's, but at Samhain, I like to kind of make like my witchy resolutions. And I try to always have 3 resolutions. And I try to have one that is pretty much purely physical, and one that is purely metaphysical, and then one that's kind of a bridge between both. So my resolutions, one of them is to be more active in our local community as well as just the community as a whole. So whether that looks like me just kind of continuing my YouTube channel, or I know that I've been talking to some people working on organizing actually having a booth at our 2018 Indianapolis Pagan Pride. But those are things that I'm working on as far as that goes. I want to continue to meet more people in our community, online or local, and I want to continue making those connections and learning from other people and sharing what I know, and just this really beautiful symbiotic sort of relation. And then another thing of mine, another resolution of mine is that, and I'm very specific with this one because I feel like it could get kind of crazy and like kind of out of control. But lately, a lot in my own dreams and meditations, I've been seeing a lot from Phoenix. You know, the amazing fiery bird of rebirth and of fire and ash. And I've been really connecting with that. And I really want to welcome this Phoenix energy, this Phoenix kind of into my life, but in a very specific way and in a specific outlet. So I would like to bring those elements kind of into my dance, because I have been taking the belly dance classes and learning more about American tribal style, and I've been really, really enjoying that. And I would like for this energy of this Phoenix to kind of channel that through dance and kind of, yeah, just kind of be a channel for this energy throughout the dance. I think that would be super cool. And fire to me in general as an archetype comes off to me in a very hot, passionate way, and I relate to it as like our spirit and our passion and our creativeness and what fuels us, and it ignites within us. And I think that's the kind of energy that I would like to channel throughout the dance art of American tribal style belly dance. So I would like to work on that, but I'm being very specific with that because other aspects of my life I feel like don't need rebirthing and don't necessarily need a hot, fiery transformation. So just in my dance. And then my third resolution is, so I have this sleeve here on my arm that I've been working on for, I think, about a year and a half now. And all of these tattoos here on my arm are very symbolic to me and hold a lot of meaning. And I have not planned my sleeve at all. And it's all just kind of happened naturally and just evolved as I've evolved. And it's been a really fun experience kind of seeing different ones kind of represent themselves and make themselves present. And especially like since tattoos are so physical, like they are on your body, like you're committed. I mean, yeah, they have ways now to like remove tattoos, but it's a much harder process to take the tattoos off than it is to get the tattoo. And all of my tattoos I love, and all of them, like I don't regret any of them. And every tattoo on my sleeve here on this arm has a very spiritual significance behind it. And I have very little left to finish of it. And I'm not really sure like what I'm going to do to fill in that space, but I would like for one of my other witchy resolutions of 2018 is to complete that sleeve and complete that cycle. So yeah, those are my resolutions. If you guys have any witchy resolutions that you feel comfortable sharing, I would love to hear them. I'm gonna look at the chat. Let's see what's going on. Witchy Jim, you don't have any tattoos? No tattoos for you? Is it, are they just not your thing, or you just haven't figured out what you want to get? Or is it a time thing? Because like tattoos take time. Like you have to sit, like this piece here on my arm, like this was I want to say a 4-hour long piece that I had to sit through. I can't sit any longer than 4 hours. 4 hours for a tattoo is long enough for me. And if it requires more than 4 hours, then we're going to have to do multiple sessions because I cannot bear it through more than 4 hours. But this one is probably one of my favorites on my arm. And this one holds a lot of meaning for me because it represents the connection of me and my mother and my grandmother, and then my perception of deity up here. And it's really, really beautiful. And yeah, I would say this is probably my favorite piece. This one. Yeah, when I first started getting my tattoos, I made sure that none of them were like visible. And then it just kind of got to the point where I just kind of chucked it in the fuck it bucket and was like, you know what? Screw it. Like I read tarot and I do hair, and no one really gives a shit if I have tattoos. But I also work in professions that I guess allow you to be able to have visible tattoos. So, and I plan on actually getting more. And I even like like, okay, there's people who like have tattoos, right? And then there's people who have like facial tattoos. And then there's people who have like hand tattoos. And I'm not saying that anything is wrong with any of that. I'm just saying that like there's definitely differences in a person's committal level to the body modification culture, I guess. And I really want to get my sleeve here, I really want to extend it onto my hand. And I've been thinking of a lot of different ways on how I want to do that, because this whole sleeve, like I have picked stuff out, but I haven't planned where each piece is going to go. It just kind of has happened. And, you know, like I said earlier, you know, they all hold kind of special significance to me. And on my hand, I was kind of thinking about doing sort of like a henna inspired design, but also with the planetary symbols. I think that would be really cool. So, and I also might include like my sun, moon, and rising symbols along with the planetary symbols on my hand throughout a henna design. I haven't really figured that out, how I'm going to do that. And I need to talk to my artists because they're the professionals and they can definitely offer tips and tricks and ways to make it, ways to make that better. But I really also like the idea of doing like a black to gray to white, kind of like an ombre piece, even though white ink fades really bad and hand tattoos fade really fast. So it would definitely be a piece that like would require maintenance in order to look its best. Hi, Moonstone Dreamer. Hi, Thea. Thanks for coming and joining. Um, yeah, so this hat, I don't know if you guys heard me talk about it earlier, but the Halloween store by my house has everything half off the day of Halloween and goes up to 75% off the week after Halloween. And I just happened to be in there because I was like, okay, I gotta stop. I haven't been to a single Halloween store this year. So I went on Halloween and I saw this hat and it was only like $8. So it really wasn't that expensive, but I got half off of that. And I just think it's really neat because it has like, I think those are supposed to be kind of like raven feathers. And then it has like these little black rose like looking things with this black skull, and it's purple, which is like one of my favorite colors. But what really sold me is this super dramatic lacy fabric. This is what sold me because this reminded me of like a veil. And I was like, oh my God, this is perfect. I have to have it. I cannot wait to wear this. And I did. And I wore it out of the store. And yeah, I think it's like kind of sassy and dramatic and fun. And I haven't really been able to wear it a whole lot because I just got it yesterday. So that's why I'm like, I'm gonna wear it during my live feed, my live stream today. But I will tell you that this veil thing is so impractical. Like it's fun, but like in ritual, I was terrified that I was going to like catch this on fire or something. So I did end up kind of putting it up. And I think that alone is kind of, you know, this veil here, lifting this veil, I feel like is also kind of symbolic of Samhain and what it's about and kind of the thinning of the veil and unveiling yourself, you know, to the spirit. So this is, I love this hat. I have a couple witchy hats, but this is definitely my favorite. The only thing that I'm kind of like meh about is the tip. Like it has a very kind of cartoonish conical piece, and I prefer them to be kind of like kind of go back and kind of twist. I don't know. I'm also like the circle that I was with for Samhain, where we were doing our little ritual. We had actually talked about going and getting a base, like a black conical witchy hat base, and then just meeting up with like a bunch of fun like lanterns and roses and skulls and, you know, moths or birds or different things that we want to add to it, and just have a witch hat making kind of get together. I think that would be super fun. I wish we had done this like before Samhain and we could all have worn our witch hats that we adorned for ritual, but there's always next year. So, and we as far as a circle goes, this was actually our first ceremonial ritual all together. And I think one of the girls, it was her first ceremonial ritual, period. So it was really fun being able to be a part of her experience and kind of, because I feel like everyone remembers like their first Samhain. Like Samhain is such a magical time of year, and there's so many fun traditions that come into it. And some of them are, very simple and like people don't even really think twice. Like carving a pumpkin, I feel like is definitely a tradition that I consider as part of my Samhain celebrations. But like if you are still in the broom closet and like you don't want to be like super open and vocal with your witchiness, or you can't be, like carving a pumpkin is a great way to, honor the Sabbat and still be completely kind of camouflaged or in the broom closet. That's a great way. Also, I feel like another way is baking. Like I made soul cakes this year for the first time, and that was super fun. And that's a great way to honor the season of Samhain as well. And no one's really going to think twice about biscuits or cookies. Like they're just going to be like, oh, okay, yeah, you bake. Okay, this is seasonal. Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah, yeah. Hey, Kimball Witchery. Thanks for joining. Thank you. I'm so glad that you guys like my hat. I was thinking about it and I was like, oh, should I wear those? Should I wear those? I'm going to wear those. I'm going to wear it. I'm going to wear the hat. And the apple cider just sets all this together, just pulls it all together. Hey, Animist, how are you? Thanks for coming and joining the Samhain Witchy Chat. So if you guys have any like witchy resolutions that you guys are making this time of year, I would so love to hear them if you feel like sharing them. I know I shared mine a little bit earlier. I don't know if everyone who is in the chat now had heard them, but basically in a nutshell, my witchy resolutions this year are going to be, oh my gosh, my dogs are going crazy. It's like the veil is thin or something. My resolutions this year are going to be one, to remain active in my local community and just community as a whole. So whether that's doing my YouTube channel, continuing my business, maybe getting a booth at the 2018 Indianapolis Pagan Pride. Maybe that is starting, in a website, or, I'm not really sure what that's going to look like and how that's going to come into fruition yet. But yeah, that's definitely one of my resolutions. And my other two resolutions, one is to finish the sleeve, because all these tattoos here hold a lot of spiritual significance to me, and I'm ready to kind of close this chapter. And I don't have a whole lot of space left to fill. But so I definitely think that's a realistic goal, because that's another thing too about resolutions, is setting realistic goals. Setting goals that are attainable, because if you set these big goals, you have a lesser chance of reaching it depending on how far you are from hitting that goal. And that's law of attraction, that's power of manifestation. So I think it's much better to set smaller goals to help you reach the bigger goal than just focusing on the big goal, especially if you're anything like me, because I can be like a scatterbrain and I can like get too hyper focused on the big goal at hand to where I just get overwhelmed and I don't really end up making any real progress. So yeah, I like to set smaller goals and then have little celebrations when I accomplish the little things that get me to the big things. So, and then my third resolution is going to be, oh yeah. So like I was saying earlier, in a lot of my meditations and stuff, and my dreams, I've been having the phoenix come to me a lot, this bird of fire and ash and rebirth. And I want to welcome this energy, but very carefully in a specific way, because other aspects of my life, I don't feel like need that rebirth. But I would like to kind of channel that beast into my dance, because I've been doing American tribal style belly dancing. And that has been so much fun to do. And I want to kind of tell the story of the Phoenix through my dance. And if you guys have seen some of my other videos, I've been kind of putting together a fire dancer costume, I guess, dance outfit. I don't know, but I got these fire fans that are super dope. So definitely go check out that video if you're interested. Okay, I'm looking at the chat. Yes, Thea. I feel like, and I'm not going to speak for everyone on this, but for me, like a lot of the stuff, even like mundane stuff that you wouldn't really think is significant, I I don't do anything for no reason. Like I don't just do things for no reason. So if I'm going to commit to something or participate in something, I'm going to think about how this falls in line with what I'm about. And I feel like as a witch, you shouldn't just do stuff for no reason because you know that there is cause and effect and every action has an equal reaction. And I think that everything creates ripples. And I think as witches, we really need to be like mindful about those ripples. So, yes, symbolism, all about it. Well, congrats, Jim. Like it's so nice like to have that space for yourself. You know, when I had my first witchy room, it definitely, I'm not going to say that it made my practice stronger. I'm not going to say that it made me feel more connected, but I definitely started practicing more once I had kind of my own space for it. Because before it was just like in our bedroom, and that was totally cool, but it was also just like not always practical, just kind of depending on what was going on. So, and I have, this is like my office space. You can't really see all of it here in the screen, but this is my office space. This is where I take care of my clients. And this is also my witchy space. So, which I would say my whole house is kind of like a magical witchy sanctuary, but this is really the meat of where the magic is at. Like I have all my books back there, and then you can't see over here, but I have my working altar that way. You can't really see it. And then this here holds like all my oils and brews. And then I have a shelf over there with my apothecary. And then this is actually a futon. And this futon pulls out into a full bed in case you have company. And, you know, I'm cautious about who would sleep in here. Not that I think anything necessarily would happen, but it's just like this is kind of my sacred space. But I don't really have people coming into my house who I would feel uncomfortable being in this space because I don't just let anyone just come to my house. Actually, a matter of fact, a lot of my clients are even just online. And then the ones that do come to my house, I've kind of gotten to know them a little bit more because you have got to be careful just in general. Not even, this isn't even just like a witch thing. This is just like existing on this planet right now. Like it's kind of scary. Like shit is crazy. People are wild. So that's why at this moment, I don't just have just anyone come to my house because you got to be careful with that because things get out of hand, honey, with a quickness. Thea, yes, honey, I've missed you. Make some more videos. We've all missed you. This thing. I would say too, Animus, that like in line with people sleeping in a witch's sanctuary, most of the people who have slept in this room are also themselves witches. So, and they've almost all been like family or extremely close friends who I've had for years and years and years. So we also have like a space, like our living room, we have like a huge sectional and like multiple spots in the sectional recline out into like a reclining chair. And then like one part of it is like it has like a huge ottoman piece that's like connected. I don't know if ottoman's the right word, but it has like a huge piece that's like you can lay down. Like, and that couch will eat you alive. It is so comfortable. I have fallen asleep on it several times. Do, 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 do. Yeah, Jim. I actually have a couple altars. I have my working altar, which is off screen, but it's like there, it's over here, over there. And that's really like where I come to really practice my craft, however that might look for that occasion. And then I also have what I call like my sabbatical altar, which is actually in the living room, kind of more on like display. And it's more of a visual representation of where we're at on the wheel. And it kind of keeps me focused on the energies of that time of year. So I might leave offerings on that table, or I might do specific workings regarding to that Sabbat. So, like for Samhain, I had like images of my beloved dead on the altar, and I also had some goddess depictions relating to death or the underworld. And I also had like food offerings left on there, and like a chalice on there filled with like apple cider. My mom was a big fan of Diet Mountain Dew, so I had that on there. They say the dead are always thirsty. So, but yeah, so if I'm going to do a working, like let's say I'm going to do like a serpent working where it's like all about kind of shedding the skin and letting go what no longer serves me, because that's a really big part of how I connect to Samhain, is not only honoring our ancestors and celebrating the completion of a year and the completion of a cycle and looking ahead and planning at next year, but also like releasing the baggage and the crap and what no longer serves you and kind of shedding that skin. And whether that's jobs or people or situations or thought forms or however that might look, like that's a big deal for me at Samhain. So if I'm going to do a spell regarding that, I'll probably do it on my sabbatical altar, or around Beltane. If I'm going to do a spell in regards with the Fae, it'll probably be done on that altar, versus my working altar is more personal and intimate, and that is where I do the bulk of it. But if it's related to a sabbat, then I do it on the sabbatical altar. And then I also have like a small, and I should make a video where I kind of show these a little bit, but I have a small altar that is like right in front of the front door. That's a prosperity altar. Hello. Oh, goodness. Moonstone. I have, I think, a few videos um, on my channel where I have shown, I know that I did one last year for Samhain, because last year at Samhain, like of course, I'm focused on my ancestors, of course. But last year I was hyper focused on specifically my mother. And so I practiced completely solitary, and it was a very painful, yet needed, beautiful thing for me, especially in the grieving process of losing my mom. And so I know that I did an altar video on that. I think I also had maybe my grandfather on there as well. And then I know that I've also done a altar tour for Bridges Day or Imbolc, where I showed that one. And I want to say maybe a Lammas or Maven, maybe. But yeah, I think I will do more altar tours. I've been kind of toying in my mind back and forth on if I want to show my working altar or if I don't, or if I'm going to show it, how am I going to show it? Because my working altar, like, it stays pretty consistent of what it looks like, versus like the sabbatical altar changes with every turn of the wheel. And then like November, there is not a Sabbat in November, because we go from Samhain in October all the way to Yule in December. So we have kind of a leap or a skip. So usually I'll decorate the sabbatical altar then for the months where there's not a Sabbat, in more of a hearth and home type vibe, more in like a tranquility and peace and home and hearth type vibes. I kind of channel more into that when there's not a Sabbat going on. Also, I normally don't do gold nails. I don't know if you guys can really see, but I've been really digging the golds lately. I've always been like a silver girl, but late, warm, rustic, yellow golds, brass vibes have just been calling my name. And I also think that has to do with some of this Phoenix energy that is coming into my life. I will be channeling it into my dance. So, and also on the topic of like Samhain and honoring ancestors, I'm actually wearing, I don't have all my rings on because I'm only wearing one. And there's a story behind this ring. No, I'm not engaged. No, I'm not married. Um, so my mother, when she was pregnant with me, decided to get some jewelry while she was pregnant with me. And she got this ring, which is a sapphire ring with little diamonds around it on like a yellow gold band. And this was actually my first piece of real jewelry. Because, you know, like you have like little rings and trinkets and necklaces, but like I didn't get real diamonds, I think, until I was like 16. I think I was 16 when I got my real first piece of jewelry with like real gold, real diamonds. And you know, if you've watched any of my other stuff on YouTube where I've talked about cultural influence, you know that jewelry is very much a prominent figure in at least my family's kind of setup, I guess. But anyway, so it's a big deal, you know, when you get your first piece of real jewelry, and it kind of like is a signifier of it kind of signifies like where you're at in your development, I guess. And so my mom gave it to me when I was 16, and I don't wear it very often because I'm terrified to lose it, especially now. And in the past, like I wasn't a big fan of gold, and I wear so much silver that like I feel like this one gold piece kind of just like offsets that completely. So I haven't worn it a lot. But all Samhain season I've been wearing this ring, and I've been thinking about what kind of mom like my mother was and everything she did for me. And that's kind of how this ring plays into my Samhain. Yeah, thanks, Thea. You know, I'm very much a rambler and I will just go on and on and on. So like if you need to tell me just to shut up, feel free because I can go on about a topic and beat it to death. Um, but I also appreciate that though about other people too, because it's like, you know, if you're going to talk about something, like let's talk about it and let's get into it and let's dissect it. But I'm also very much an air sign. I'm very much into thoughts and ideas and communication and learning. And so yeah, and sometimes it's like it's kind of sad, like when there's a video that you're really interested in, but like the person is talking, but they're not really saying anything. You know, like no shade thrown, but it just kind of like they're talking about this stuff, but they don't really know maybe a lot about it, or they don't feel comfortable sharing their personal opinion. So they just kind of keep it very generic. And there's a lot of that already on YouTube. And I definitely think that like that's awesome too. And we can appreciate the basics and the generic stuff also. But it's nice to be able to either learn or share like some real teas and like some real info to know. Arima, I hope I'm saying that right, Arima Alice. I'm very sorry for your loss. And that's kind of what's kind of great about Samhain is like us being able to have these conversations about our dearly beloveds, like it keeps them alive in our hearts, and sharing their stories helps um, prevent them from just being faded into being forgotten. So thank you for sharing that. Thanks, Moonstead. Thank you. I am super addicted to my acrylic nails. It's definitely one of my vices. I would say I've probably been getting my nails done probably actually around 15, 16. And I think I've only had a break of maybe like 6 months. And the entire, like, I do not take my nails off. I might get a new set, but like, I have not been without, like, I've had my nails longer than I've had my partner. Like, these are an integral part of me at this point. Like, I don't even know like how I would even function like without them. Like, I've gotten used to them for so long that when I don't have them, I just kind of feel like a cat without claws, you know? Like, it's weird. It's weird to me. So I guess something else that we could talk about, excuse me, for in regards to our Samhain chat is talking about the Halloween crone or the Halloween hag or the green faced, battered, demonic looking witchy, creations that we see a lot during Halloween. And I actually made a Facebook post in regards to this where I was kind of sharing how it's kind of my personal opinion that this archetype of this witch with this haggard kind of appearance and twisted, gnarly fingers and green skin and broken teeth and torn gums and, uh, a big warty nose and usually very like overweight and elderly. And I kind of feel like it's very representative of the demonization of ancient practices and the oppression of women. And that's not to say that there's not male witches, because of course there's male witches, and I know that there's male witches. But I feel like this archetype that we were talking about is usually depicted as a female. Not that there's not negative male magical archetypes as well, I guess, but like this Halloween hag or this Halloween witch that we see is a very kind of morbid depiction of who we are and what we're about. Because yes, I totally have this Halloween witch's hat on right now, but like that's different. I'm talking about when other people use this kind of depiction as an explanation of what we are. And like the green skin, the wobbly, hobbly kind of body, like that's demonization of women and these practices. And it doesn't even surprise me that, oh God, I'm getting into it, guys. Okay, it doesn't surprise me that the powers that be, the church, would want to take the power from these wise people who understood roots and powders and berries could help cure or treat certain ailments. And instead, they wanted that power to stay within churches. So they demonized these witches, they demonized these wise women, and they called them lovers of Satan and the devil and da 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 da. They took, holidays and demonized those. They took goddesses, demonized those. So why does it not surprise me at all that like these cunning folk were also demonized and made into kind of this demonic depiction to scare people? People who also associated with these people would also be ostracized. So I feel like it's important this time of year also to really just kind of take a moment and recognize what has gone on, these horrible atrocities that have gone on in the past, and raise awareness to that. And I almost kind of feel too like this green-faced witch, like I'm not saying that it's the same thing as blackface, but in its own right, it is, we could call that green face. And me personally, when I see other people dressed up as this cartoonish Halloween like witch, I I don't really necessarily feel a type of way about it. I am kind of just like thrown off a little bit, I guess, by it. And I also kind of feel like it, to a certain extent, kind of mocks our very real existence. Like we are something of the past or something that doesn't exist anymore, or we are some kind of supernatural or mythical creature that like, and we're like very real, existing in the everyday life, like surrounded all around you, hiding in plain sight, or not so hiding in plain sight, just depending on what you're about. So it just kind of seems like kind of just strange to me. And but I guess it would be kind of the same thing as like people wearing other kind of not so appropriate like costumes. So I don't know. I don't know how you guys feel about all that. I don't know if you guys think that that seems kind of strange or, but I also am a big believer in like reclaiming things because like the word witch at one point was a horrible slur, but there's a lot of people who are, you know, they self-identify as a witch, and I'm one of them, and I use that title, that slur witch, and I wear that with pride and almost like a badge of like honor. I'm not insulted by it if someone calls me a witch in the slightest. And there's other things like that as well that I feel about, like the word gypsy. Like I feel like gypsy can be reclaimed. I don't feel like it has to be like this nasty word used to put people in their place or other people. So I don't know. How do you guys feel about the Halloween witch trope? Do you guys feel like it further demonizes and ostracizes and others people? And are you guys like irritated by it? Or do you feel like it normalizes the witchy existence, if even for a season? Do you feel like it normalizes it? And do you feel like it brings more awareness to our very real existence? Or do you just not care? Like, are you just like, oh, well, it's really not that big of a deal to me on how I feel about it? I would love to know. I'm checking the chat. Okay. Um, Animist, I will definitely talk about my views on dancing as magic, internal and socially. I will definitely talk about that. That's a great suggestion. Jim, I kind of feel like the Hollywood effect is not, I feel like it's not necessarily the same thing as the Halloween witch. I feel like that's more like the Harry Potter or the Charmed or the Craft type depiction of witches. And that I feel like is kind of a separate thing from this very specific um, depiction, personally. Yeah, the worst witch, I've actually seen that, and like it's kind of cringy, but it's also really delightful. And it's unfortunate, Moonstone, that like we have to kind of take a step back and think about how this might change the way that people perceive us or what ripples that this might make. But some of us, depending on your backgrounds, like that's so vital and so essential. And I'm sorry that you have to deal with that. Hey, Chaos Candle, thanks for liking my hat. I'm pretty excited about it too. I got it half off. Half off. That's, yeah, it was like $4. And yeah, Alice, I kind of agree too. Like, I kind of feel like this haggard, kind of spoopy Halloween crone is just another depiction of the wise crone and the hag. So I agree with you there. I definitely agree with you there. And Thea, I also agree. I also agree with what you're saying too. And yeah, animus, like I have people in my family who would take great offense to being called gypsy because they feel like it's a slur because it was really originated as a slur. Um, you have the whole thing of like, oh, you gypped me, or the fact they, yeah. So, but I don't really feel like it's a slur. I mean, I definitely think that someone could use it as a slur, but like no one's ever done that with me. And I feel like it's kind of a beautiful word of empowerment. And that's how I view witch as well. I view witch as like a beautiful word of self identification and empowerment. Hey, Cora. Yeah, this hat, guys, I am totally digging it. I love it, especially like the little skull. Like, I think the skull and this veil piece, which is so fitting to this time of year, really sold me. Really sold me on the hat. Really sold me. I was like, I have to have it. Have to have it. It's purple, has a veil and a skull and raven feathers. Have to have it. It's mine. Oh, thank you, Cora. So, yeah, I mean, we've talked about Samhain, we've talked about the Halloween hag, we've talked about resolutions, we've talked about ancestors. Um, Trying to think. I feel like I've kind of covered everything that I really wanted to talk about in my little Samhain witchy chit chat session. So, if you guys have any topic suggestions, feel free to throw them out. Otherwise, oh my gosh, earlier I made this. It's a chipotle pumpkin sauce over like penne noodles. So good. So good. It was delicious. But yeah, so if you have any like suggestions of what you would like to add or talk about, feel free. Or if anyone in the chat would like to come on and we can do like a live chat together, feel free if that's what you're interested in doing. Otherwise, I might hop off of here. Yeah, yeah, I'm the same way. Like when people call me a witch, I love it. And I just kind of laugh and chuckle and yeah, I agree. Yeah. I am like a little bummed this year that I did not actually make it to a pumpkin patch or an apple orchard. It makes me sad. A witchy frog statue, that sounds pretty awesome. That sounds pretty awesome. And the pasta is amazing. It's like sweet but spicy, which is like my two favorite flavor combinations. You know how some people are into like the whole sweet and salty vibes? I'm all about sweet and spicy. Hey Joe, thank you. Yeah, I really dig the hat too. I'm glad that you guys like it. It's kind of fun, right? It's kind of special and like ridiculous. Oh my gosh, Moonstone, that sounds awesome. She lives near an apple orchard. Or an apple orchard. Okay. I was like, an apple altar. That sounds fun. But an orchard sounds cool. An orchard sounds cool too. Yeah, I'll have to check out that witchy frog statue because that sounds cool. I'm all about toads and frogs. Okay, Thea, let's see. Let's see. Sophia says, when it comes to ancestors, what are your thoughts on connecting with them during this time? How can witches connect? I personally do ancestry research and post pictures all over of my ancestors. Okay, so let's talk about that. So ancestors, let's define that. So I view ancestor work or ancestors as, of course, our blood relatives. Absolutely. So, mother, father, grandmother, grandfather, great uncle, great aunt. I also think that like there's also the family that we choose. And um, I've had a few friends, pass very young, early on, and it was very sad. And I honor them also, even though we don't share the same blood. They were kind of like the family that I chose. And then there's also, I feel like, the honoring of our not necessarily like lineage lines, but like honoring witches of the past. Or I also know of other witches who have worked ancestor work or honoring ancestors of situations like the Holocaust or the Trail of Tears or the ship that went down in Ireland with St. Patrick and honoring those souls. Or so, like this year, I worked with honoring my mother. And how I honor my mother was she loved Diet Mountain Dew. So we would have Diet Mountain Dew. And every Sunday, we would have like a big Sunday dinner, sit down meal. And there would be some sort of pasta dish, some sort of store bought dessert, and a big salad. So replicating that and reliving those times throughout Dumb Supper was really awesome. Also, my maternal grandfather, who was a big martini drinker and cigar smoker. So I had a martini and a cigar. My friend Jordan, who she actually passed when she was 19. She had tried to commit suicide and lived through that, but actually suffered from a complication of the suicide, and it was a blood clot. And it basically went straight to her brain. So, raising awareness and suicide prevention are my ways of honoring her. Also, there's just my heritage in general. And I listen to a lot of traditional music around this time of year because it connects me to my roots. Um, and foods, traditional heritage like foods, I'll cook a lot of those during this time of year because it also connects me to my roots. So I feel like you can connect with imagery, Thea, like you're talking about too. I have pictures of my ancestors all over my sabbatical altar, as well as telling stories and talking to the elders in my family about people and getting to hear those stories again and asking about, grandfather who I never met and hearing the stories of him through the lens of my grandmother. So yeah, I hope that answered the question. Chaos, I would say I don't do a whole lot of streams. I think I've maybe done four. I have a few live streams I've done where I've done interviews with people, interviewing them about their specific path and asking them questions. And then I think I've done like one or two other live streams on my channel. I don't typically do live streams though. Often I just kind of upload, but I really do like the live thing because we get this instant kind of communication and that's super fun. Yeah, yeah, I definitely do the incense offerings as well. Uh-huh. Jim, I'm sorry for your loss. I understand what that is like to be in someone's life and have this person take their life by their own accord and by their own hand. And it's sad. And unfortunately, there are certain things in life that you cannot save people from, and they have to save themselves. And that's why how I honor my friend Jordan is I try to raise awareness about suicide prevention. I've even considered getting the semicolon tattoo, not only in connection with my own story, but also in honor of my friend Jordan. And the semicolon tattoo is kind of a social movement in regarding to bringing awareness to mental illness and bringing awareness to suicide prevention. So definitely look into that if you haven't seen that. I saw one really cool piece and it said warrior, and the I of warrior was actually a semicolon. I thought that was super, super cool. So I feel like I've talked about the Samhain goodness that I wanted to come on here and talk about. And it's been super fun, like having all of you guys uh, watching and giving me your feedback and having this communication. And I would like to do more live streams in the future. So if you like these live streams where I just kind of come on here and ramble without any real rhyme or reason or planning, and I'm kind of messy and chaotic with it, let me know. And I will definitely do more live streams. If you don't like them, feel free to let me know also and be like, actually, your live streams suck. You can let me know that too. That's totally fine. Yeah, Jen, that sounds good with me. We can definitely set up some sort of chat. Mm-hmm. Sounds good. Sounds good to me. And if any of you guys ever want to do like a live stream or a meet and greet or a chat, feel free to hit me up. You know, I'm always down to have new conversations and meet new people and reach out. That's part of my resolutions is to stay more active in our local community. Alrighty, well, thank you guys so much for coming and hanging out, and it's been super fun, and it's a great way to kind of wrap up my Samhain celebrations. So I hope all of you have a great rest of your day, night, or evening, or whatever it is. Get yourself a cup of coffee or tea, depending on where you're at, and have a great rest of your Samhain, and really cherish this time, and just relish in it. You know, we get it once a year, and I feel like it's kind of like the most magical time of the year, to be honest. So many blessings, guys. I'll keep this chat open, but I am going to end the live stream. So many blessings. Oh, I'm going. Okay. I'm rambling. Okay. Have a great night, guys.